Hey Euro babes, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're doing well. You're entering the Cal Zone, and today we've got a doozy. I'm going to be discussing some new developments in the drama backstage at Eurovision this year. I have 3 stories I'm going to be discussing: an update to the Joost situation, Baby Lasagna and the hate mob that came for him after his appearance on a podcast, and the absolutely pathetic attempt to cancel Teya, which of course she wasn't in Eurovision this year, but it's still... my point stands with this, okay? Just stay with me. In my last video, I touched on the behind-the-scenes drama at Eurovision this year, mainly between Bambi, Marina Sati, and a few others who I will call the Watermelon Brigade and the Israeli delegation. The information I provided in that video showed that what Bambi said happened backstage was not truthful, or at the very least was grossly exaggerated. I'm not going to really touch too much on that here. You can go watch my video talking about it. Link will be in the description. But for a quick summary, the main piece of drama backstage was Bambi Thug accusing the Israeli delegation of filming artists without their consent. Although it wasn't just Bambi that made this accusation, this claim was widespread during Eurovision week. This video that I'm showing right now is the video that sparked this controversy, and as you can see, it's pretty innocuous. Bambi also didn't have a problem when the Slovenian delegation did essentially the same thing, so it's purely hypocritical on Bambi's part. I sourced a Twitter thread by Calm Eurofan where they had a source who was backstage at Eurovision who told them that Bambi and Marina Sati were extremely disruptive and were determined to get Israel disqualified regardless of what it took to do it, and everyone backstage thought that Bambi was divisive and was only there to cause trouble. So that's the summary of my last video. If you want the full story, again, link is in the description. The new information is that we now have a neutral artist coming out with their story on what happened behind the scenes, and that is the runner-up Baby Lasagna. And what he said in a podcast that I'll get to shortly, his comments pretty much fully validate what Calm Eurofan source told them, and it makes Bambi look really bad. Before I get into that, though, we have to touch on this news, which I'm sure you've seen, and that is that the case against Joost Klein has been dropped by Swedish authorities. This has caused a lot of backlash towards the EBU on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, with many people saying that they disqualified Joost for nothing, which just is not the case. I'm going to read part of an article from Blogs. I don't really feel the need to read the whole thing. That would take a while. You can read the whole article if you want. Again, I'll leave that in the description as well. And then I'll talk about the statement from the camera woman that was put out by her lawyer. So here's the Blogs article. It's called Joost Klein Case Closed in Sweden as Police Cite Lack of Evidence Against the Disqualified Eurovision Singer. So he is Swedish, but senior prosecutor Fredrik Jonsson said, "Today I have closed the investigation because I cannot prove that the act was capable of causing serious fear or that the man, Joost, had any such intention." The prosecutor elaborated to Aftonbladet, which is a Swedish newspaper. It was confirmed that there had been a movement towards the film camera by the accused and that the movement hit the film camera, but for it to be an unlawful threat, I would have to assume that his intention with that action was to induce serious fear or simply threaten her. Based on this situation, which was a quick sequence of events in a special situation, I cannot sufficiently prove that he did it to threaten her. I cannot conclude anything other than the intention was to influence the filming. He simply did not want to be filmed," end quote. So that's what he said. According to Aftonbladet's information, Joost Klein admitted after the incident that he lunged at the photographer with his fist on his way away from the area. According to people on the scene backstage, he had expressed a lot of remorse for what happened and apologized several times. The photographer in question was said to have been shocked by the incident and was offered support afterwards. The article says that Overtroos, the Dutch broadcaster, is still considering their participation next year. They say, quote, "We will also discuss all other objections about the way things are going behind the scenes at the Song Festival, which we previously sent to the EBU an extensive letter of objection and which we have remained unanswered to date. Overtroos' position is and remains that the song contest is about artists and their musical message. The EBU now has the floor," says the Dutch broadcaster. Then a statement was included from the EBU. They say, quote, "The decision to disqualify Mr. Klein from this year's event was made in strict accordance with Eurovision Eurovision Song Contest rules and governance procedures after an internal investigation. In parallel, Swedish police decided to open a formal investigation into the conduct of Mr. Klein during the dress rehearsal, which we understand was closed today without further action. This was an investigation into whether a criminal act was committed and not whether Mr. Klein behaved inappropriately and breached ESC rules and procedures. This new development, therefore, does not have any impact on our decision, which we stand by completely. So that's the Wee Wee Blogs article. I'll let you draw your own conclusions from that. Although the fact that the EBU supposedly hasn't gotten back to Avatros regarding their complaint that they sent in June is really not a good look. There's no excuse for that. You need to at least get back to them if you want them to participate next year. All right, so now I'm going to read the statement that was put out by the camera woman's lawyer. So this person, his name is Christopher Stahl. He said, what happened to her, that's the camera woman, was unexpected and very traumatizing. My client is very upset and considers appealing the decision, he says. She came to Malmo to do her work at a special place where music, inclusion, and diversity are the main focus. What happened to her was unexpected and very traumatizing. She now unfortunately has to bear the consequences of that incident, end quote. Joost was disqualified, of course, after the Eurovision incident. Public prosecutor Fredrik Jonsson, who we just touched on, confirmed on Monday that the woman can have my decision reviewed by a higher prosecutor. So it's not like Joost is out of the woods, okay? There's still a possibility that he can face something for this, but who knows if that's going to happen, but he's not out of the woods, essentially is what that means. If he decides that my judgment was wrong, then the preliminary investigation can be reopened. Attorney Stoll adds to his statement that there was no agreement that the Dutch artist would not be filmed after the performance. Joost Klein and Avatros said that no behind-the-scenes recordings would be made after the performance. So it seems like there was a miscommunication there, at the very least. My client wants to make it very clear that she did not pay any more or less attention to the Dutch artist than to other candidates at the festival, he said. The woman praises the EBU for the way that the organization, quote, put the mental and physical safety of its employees first, end quote. Avatros and NPO, I'm not sure what NPO is, will shortly meet with the EBU to discuss the situation that has arisen. EBU already announced on Monday that it still fully supports the decision to disqualify. So personally, I don't really think this statement does much. It sounds like fluffery to me. I really think it would be much more helpful and useful if the camerawoman, who's still anonymous, by the way, she's never been named, would come out and share her story if and only if she's comfortable doing that. Now, the thing that people are not understanding, and I don't really know why because this is not complicated, is just because Joost may not have committed a crime, that does not mean that he didn't break EBU rules. The EBU would not have disqualified him for nothing. That makes no sense. Why would you disqualify one of the big fan favorites and alienate the broadcaster of one of your biggest markets if he did absolutely nothing wrong? That's obviously not what happened. Some people have said that Joost was disqualified over his criticism of Israel, which is not only comical but an unhinged conspiracy theory, considering Bambi was way more vocal. If that was the reason why Joost was disqualified, why wasn't Bambi DQ'd too? Why wasn't Marina Sati DQ'd? Why wasn't Yolanda DQ'd? Why wasn't the entire Watermelon Brigade disqualified? It's because those people did not break EBU rules, although Bambi did get pretty close with the ceasefire Agam script debacle, and Joost did break EBU rules. It's pretty simple. It's not hard to understand, guys. Plus, supposedly there were already complaints about the Dutch delegation before the incident, so people just are not thinking clearly at all. No, the fandom doesn't really ever think clearly, in my opinion, but that's just me. My question to the people saying that Joost was disqualified for nothing is, what did you expect the EBU to do? What were they supposed to do? They were told what happened, and the allegations were clearly serious enough to warrant a disqualification. Let's be honest, this was a lose-lose situation. No matter what they decided to do, they were going to face hate. Do I think that what was originally alleged, which I believe was something along the lines that Joost assaulted the camerawoman, was that probably over-exaggerated? Yeah, it seems like it. Did the EBU overreact? Possibly. I'll let you be the judge of that. However, Joost still broke EBU rules, and based on the original allegations, the EBU did not have a choice on whether or not to disqualify him. Now, if it comes out that the EBU had ulterior motives for disqualifying Joost other than the incident, I will fully defend him and call on the EBU to apologize, but I don't think that's going to happen. This was a very difficult situation, and I think this can be seen as a learning experience moving forward, and not just for the EBU, who absolutely made mistakes here, but for future artists as well. Obviously, I hope that the EBU and Avatros can reconcile. I'm probably not pronouncing that correctly, but whatever. I hope they can reconcile and figure something out for next year, because obviously the Netherlands withdrawing is not something that anybody really wants to see. Personally, I don't think giving them an automatic qualification or special treatment is fair. That might just be me though, let me know. My problem with the Dutch/Joost fan perspective here is the idea that he did absolutely nothing wrong, which just is not the case at all. I think all sides deserve some blame here. So those are my thoughts on the Joost situation. Let's now move on to the Baby Lasagna interview. So Baby Lasagna did an interview with a Croatian podcast called Podcast Incubator on the 30th of July. So I'm not really sure why this story blew up recently. It was 2 days ago when I'm recording this on August 16th. The podcast is in Croatian. It's also not very long. So if you can speak Croatian and are interested in the original version, I'll leave that linked in the description as well. Have fun. But what has blown up is the translated version. I have a mutual on Twitter/X again, whatever you want to call it, that is Croatian, and he's made it very clear to a lot of people that the translation is accurate. This video is from Adam on X. I don't think he personally translated it, but that's just where I found them, so shout out to him. I'm going to let the video play without my commentary so you can make your mind up, and then afterwards I'll provide my thoughts.
Izlike, da, ali bila je u biti nakon polufinale glavna priča u Hrvatskoj si bio ti naravno, ali dobro, druga je bila Irkinja, ova, to je...
Aha, Bambi, tak da ona je, kad je bilo između nas i Neme, ona je tamo, to se možda nije čulo na TV-u, počela, znači sad će proglasiti koliko je Nemo dobio bodova, pa da vidimo ko je pobjedio, ona se počela derati, ono Nemo, to jest Nimo. I onda su ovi naši iz Srbije, Marko! Umre sad svega, tako je bilo to, ono, show, da ona je, mislim,
ona je isto drugačija, mislim, ono, meni onaj pentagram, ona zvijezda, kao ono sve bilo, kao ne, ali produkcijski, kad ti to gledaš i da, donijela je nekaj drugčije, mislim, realno.
Ona je bilo pričalo se o njoj, mislim, pjesma je kriminalno loša, meni je to krevenje.
Je, to je meni, to je toliko postiglo zbog toga.
Krevenje, znači ono,
ali ona je taj tip,
mislim, ja slušam takvu glazbu gdje ono taj growl, scream, meni je to sve cool.
Ja nemam problem sa takvim Marilyn Manson i to, ja nemam s tim problem kako zna pijao čovjek ovaj.
Da.
Ali ovo, ja ne znam šta je, mislim, ovo nije Marilyn Manson, ovo je Marilyn Manson jedno po vizualnom identitetu.
Ne znam, ja sam skoro umro od smijeha, meni je to bilo, znači išli smo na taj Flag Parade, ovaj prvi put da pričam to javno, ali mislim nije ništa loše.
Pa možda se loše pričaš.
Sad mi stojimo u tom redu i tišina i valjda su stajale Irkinja i Grkinja. I valjda je neko snimao, ja mislim iz izraelske delegacije Irkinju. Kad je ona počela, nemojte me snimati, ono, krene vrištat i govori, viš ono, bijesni, ko ono bijesan pas i govori, ovo je festival ljubavi i mira, ono, pjeni se. I svi ono, a ja sam krenuo grist usnice, krenuo sam se grebat, samo se ne pukne smijat, nisam mogao. Znaš, ono, govoriš ovim festival ljubavi i mira, vrištiš, ono, pjeniš se ko pas. Drame, ono, ja ne znam kako, pa su pobjegli ona, Nemo, ne znam ko još, u tu neku tihu sobu, kao se očišćeli, pa su tamo plakali, bože dragi, ono šta mi, ono što na euro
kakva je drama,
pa mi nije bilo jasno.
Bila je, ne znam koliko ste to upratili, vjerojatno niste, između polovne finalne večeri je bio propalestinski prosvjed vani i ona je htjela ići pjevati Palestincima i jedva su spriječili da je pjevati. Znači, ne znam baš šta bi to bilo. Ne znam baš kako bi reagirali ovi Arapi, da pentagram, ali sreću pa je PR zabranio da izađe. Pazi, ona je rekla da će ona u oslobođenoj Palestini pjevac, pa ona da dođe s pentagramom neće dobro proći. Ne bi je preporučio baš.
Meni su to gluposti, te drame koje su oni radili, zato kaj ti ako hoćeš odustati, jednostavno neće se pojaviti na pozornici. I to je to. Znači, znaš, ona, ne da ti dramiš, da mediji svi to prenose, da si ti u centru pažnje, da želiš toliko pažnju. Znači, nemoj se pojaviti na pozornici i to je to.
A što je bilo sad kad već to spominjete, biti pjesmu koja je meni bila u svojoj najbolja Europapa, ona? To je meni bila tako dobra pjesma. I šta je s tim bilo? Jesu dobili kakve informacije?
To su krenule takve glasine, bilo meni to bio najbolji dio Eurosonga.
Ta pjesma baš jebenama bila.
Top je, baš ono 90.
Ne znam, znam da su, to mi je bilo super jer većinu vremena kad si tamo na probama ti je dosadno, nemaš ništa nego čekat ono. I onda mi je super kad se to dogodilo jer si krenuo, znaš, ono, malo sam bio ko baba tračao šta je bilo, znaš, onda idemo od delegacije do delegacije, znaš, ono. Niš, navodno je kao bila ta neka fotografkinja, fotograf koji je dio Eurosong organizacije. Da, prvo, prije svega toga šta je bilo je da se lik nije pojavio na probu. Znači, bio je tamo, ali poslao nekog zamjenika svog double gangera da dođe pijati umjesto njega na probu jer se njemu ne da. I poslije su rekli da mu je slabo, ali kao, nije mu bilo slabo, nego vjerojatno mu se ne da, jer on je mislim, velik je, pa šta ja znam, možda je zvijezda. I na što mu je onda EBU zabranio da ima probu. I taj isti dan je navodno došla ta fotografija do njega ili snimateljica, whatever, on je rekao nemoj mi snimati, onda moram, ide zvekno kameru iz ruku i onda su krenule priče da je ona kriva, da je on kriv, pa da je on napravio još
bilo kao da je prebio.
Da je cimnuo ili šta, da je krenuo prema njoj. Sad, ko je tu šta bilo, nemam pojma, ona se osjećala nesigurno, zvala policiju i bio je nedugo nakon toga donio tu odluku i šta ja znam, ne znam šta da ti kažem na to. Ne znam ništa šta da kažem, ne želim s tipu ovo što prije što smo pričali, nemam pojma zašto, znam zašto, ali ne toliko dobro, ne poznajem taj osjećaj, zašto se toliko uzrujali oni zbog izraelske delegacije i slično, jer nisu izraelski delegacije bili neugodni, barem ono što sam ja vidio sad, tipo što su nju snimali, tamo svakog snima, brate, to su kamere, su konstantno upaljene, konstantno su upaljene, tako da nisam siguran šta je bilo kod toga, meni je samo bilo smiješno kako se derala, da ovo je mir i ljubav, pijeni viš bijes, to je smiješno bilo.
Pa dobro, ali slikali su neki sa glavnim sponzorom priredbe, koji je isto izraelska firma, koji su se bunili protiv Izraelaca, slikali su se kad su im dali pare.
Ja sam stavio na Instagram...
novaca odbito
Ja sam ti stavio na Instagram fotku kak sam na frizuri, na Morocco ili oni su me napali. Da će mu donijeti kao glasove negativno ovo.
Da, ali ne kažem, neki su od ovih koji su najviše bili bučni, su prije bili...
Svi su bili na frizuri,
Pa kuš lažu, ali to je licemjerje, teško licemjerje.
Okay, so that's the podcast. For some reason, Baby Lasagna faced a lot of criticism for this and what he said, which is bizarre to me. He was recounting his experience, and he's free to think whatever he wants. But some people in this community clearly do not think so. Did he use some harsh words? Maybe, perhaps. It's obvious that he's not a big fan of Bambi. I'm not either. Bambi is a very problematic person, in my opinion, but we are all entitled to our own opinions, whether we're right or wrong. That is a beauty of living in a Western society, and a lot of people take that for granted. So eventually Marco was essentially bullied to make a statement. People had a problem with him saying that the Israeli delegation was nice. The watermelon crowd cannot accept that, of course. So he made a statement, and I'll read what he said on his Instagram story. He says, quote, "I won't beat around the bush, and I feel like I have to respond because I owe that to the ESC community." Why? Why though? That's my question to Marco. Why? Why do you owe these people anything? Anyways, I didn't feel like I had to express this online, but now I see that there's been some confusion about it, so let me say it. I condemn the actions of Israel's government. I bow my head to Palestine, which is kind of a funny thing to say, but whatever, and its victims. I keep them in my prayers every night I go to sleep. Likewise, I truly give my best to help those wounded by this horrific tragedy. Love, Marco. And as someone who is pro-Israel, I'm a proud Zionist and ally. I don't have a problem with the statement. He is entitled to his opinions, and you can criticize the actions of the Israeli government without being asshole or being anti-Semitic. I think Marco's statement is perfectly fine. Honestly, I do feel like he was bullied into saying something, and a lot of people criticized the statement for being half-assed, and people thought that he didn't really care. He didn't actually believe what he was saying, and he was only saying this to save his reputation. So I felt the need to stand up for Marco because I think he's a good person. So this person said, after 6+ months of fans begging him to say something, which has it even been 6+ months? I don't really think it has been, but whatever. Baby Lasagna only now comes out with the right thing after he's threatened with losing his whole fan base and has no choice. I mean, that's cult-like behavior. That's literally blackmail. Do y'all not see that? He makes no apology to Bambi Thug at all for the way he described them. Disgraceful. So I thought this was ridiculous. So I responded, the watermelon side of the ESC fandom is a cult. Which it is. I fully stand by that statement. This is absolutely cult-like behavior, asking someone to deny reality, which is that Bambi was a problem and behaved horribly, and to disavow their own personal experience to satisfy a certain group of people is absolutely cult-like behavior, and I do not care who is offended by that. Back to my statement, though. No matter what you say, it will never be enough. Y'all bullied Marco into making a statement, and you're still mad. Why should he apologize to Bambi? Maybe Bambi shouldn't have acted like a deranged lunatic, and Bambi absolutely acted like a deranged lunatic. Bambi's actions during Eurovision week were reprehensible on so many levels, causing just an insane amount of drama for no reason, not to mention the accusation of plagiarism that I touched on in my last video, and I reshared that allegation recently again, and Bambi blocked me for it. You can see what I said in response to them. Her. Honestly, I don't really care about using the correct pronouns for someone like that. Whatever. Instead of trying to explain away the plagiarism allegation or apologize, Bambi blocks me instead and runs away, which makes you look pretty guilty, babe. Not a good look. I also quoted the horrible Honest Vocal Coach parody account who said that the last 2 runner-up finishes are horrible human beings, and so I responded because this just is not the case. I took issue with that because Baby Lasagna donated the €50,000 prize that the Croatian government awarded him for coming second to help kids with cancer. Hate to break it to you, y'all, but that's not what a bad person does. That's what a good person does. The final story I want to talk about today, and this story is absolutely absurd. This might be the most ridiculous drama I've ever seen in the Eurovision community. Now, granted, I've only been on the Eurovision Twitter community for basically a year. However, this might be one of the most frivolous things I've ever seen in my entire life, and this is regarding Teya. Now, you may know Teya as half of the duo that represented Austria last year with the iconic song, Who the Hell is Edgar? Such a banger. Should have done way better. They didn't do the staging correctly, but the song is amazing. So around this time last year, Teya said something along the lines of, I just heard a song that may be going to Eurovision, and I think it's going to do really well. You guys are going to really like it if it gets chosen. I'm paraphrasing here because the original tweet has been deleted and I couldn't find any versions of it. She was correct because the song she was talking about was the song that ended up winning the whole fucking contest, The Code by Nemo. Still don't think that should have won, but that's just my opinion. So yesterday, I'm recording this on Friday, the 16th, she said in another deleted tweet, she actually wiped her entire account and unfollowed pretty much everybody because of the bullying, which I'll talk about that. But anyways, she said, back with the prediction, I have a song on repeat in my headphones that's going to be big if it goes to Eurovision. She had previously talked about potential Maltese songs, some other songs, so she's clearly in the know. She is a regular at these songwriting camps that produce Eurovision entries. This all seems very mundane, right? An artist simply writing Eurovision songs, which you'd think the community would be happy about that, especially someone as widely loved as Teya. Wrong. Some people, which I just don't understand, some people were upset by this, which makes no sense. I'll put a few tweets on screen, and this just frustrates me a lot. This is the behavior of someone who is jobless, friendless, and has no life, and is really just trying to stir the pot because I genuinely have no idea what the problem here is. I mean, what's the problem? I don't get it. So I specifically responded to this Joe guy saying, y'all seriously can't be real. So you're criticizing Teya for what exactly? Like, what's the problem? I don't get it. Writing songs for prospective ESC artists. How is that a problem? I mean, y'all don't really clown on Elsie Bay for doing that. Y'all don't clown on a bunch of other people for doing that. So why are we criticizing Teya? I don't understand. Plus, Who the Hell is Edgar was a brilliantly written song. There are so many different meanings and interpretations you can take from it. So yeah, I have no idea why people got so up in arms about this. A lot of people defended Teya, which is good. There are still some people in the community, there aren't a lot, but there are still some people that aren't completely delusional, but a lot of people just, they're stupid, okay? What else can I say other than the fact that they're dumb? But again, this caused Teya to completely wipe her account. The fandom has a severe bullying aspect to it. If you're on Twitter this year and you saw what they did to Ed and Golan, you'd see that. You'd notice it. The fandom has a bullying aspect to it. Anyone who's been on Twitter knows that. I was personally bullied by a lot of these people myself. So these people just can't get it through their heads. Y'all are actually the ones that are ruining the contest. It's not us. We are not the ones who are bullying people. We're not the ones who are harassing people, calling people out for doing nothing wrong. Y'all suck, okay? Y'all truly, truly suck. Speaking of someone who sucks, I was just going to end it there. I really did not want to have to continue because this is already going to be a pretty long video, so I appreciate you sticking around. But I became aware of who was the one who caused Teya to go dark. And you know, I wish I could say I'm surprised, but I'm really not. So the person behind this is Anders. Now you may be asking me why I'm blocked by this person. Don't worry, I'll get to that. But Anders is a disgusting person. He is a bully, and not only does he have no place in the Eurovision community, I think everyone can agree on that at this point. From what I've seen, I think everyone agrees on that. And but he needs to be suspended off of Twitter X. He needs to go. He has to go. So this message was from a group chat. I wasn't in it, but someone shared it on X. You know what? I'm going to try to start calling it X, okay? It's still very strange, even a year after Elon changed the name, whatever. So someone shared this, and just look at this message. Look at it. Someone needs to tell Teya to kill herself. I mean, I seriously have no words. What the fuck is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? Even if this was a joke, which if you believe that, you're really giving this person the benefit of the doubt, which he absolutely does not deserve based on his history. But even then, you do not joke about suicide. That is a red line that should never be crossed. And telling someone to kill themselves over writing songs for Eurovision is just about the most deranged and psychopathic behavior I've ever seen on this platform. This is also not an isolated incident for Anders. I saw this post from a new mutual of mine named Ronnie, where Anders supposedly sent her voice messages saying that she should kill herself, which is despicable. Again, you just don't do that, ever. Because what if someone is really struggling, and then you tell them to kill themselves, and they actually go and do it? You know you can get charged with a crime for that, and rightfully so. Now let's get back to why I was blocked by this person, and it's kind of a long story, but to summarize, I'll show you this post from me. I was added into a watermelon group chat the other day, and I'm going to make a thread of some of the stuff that was said. Just a heads up, these people are not right in the head. Also, shout out to me for rhyming. You know, I like to think of myself as a pretty good writer, but that's besides the point. Get back on track. Okay, so anyways, Anders was in this group chat. He had a different handle at the time because this is how these people escape consequences for their actions. They get banned. Empress, for example, has been banned a couple of different times by now, but she makes new accounts and gets away with it. So yeah, this is what these people do, but he was there along with a ton of other terrible people like Empress. I'm going to show you the screenshots that I have with him in them. I shouldn't really have to explain why this first one is weird and then he insults me for no reason. I was nothing but kind to him. I went along with his bullshit, but yeah, he just decided to harass me, essentially. He wasn't the main instigator of bullying here. That was really Elliot, but still, he definitely condoned it and took part in it. Everyone in that group chat knew exactly what they were doing. And don't get me wrong, I knew what they were doing too. I was really doing it for fun, to be honest. It still didn't make it feel that great, but this was great content, okay? You can't really hate me for that. I knew exactly what they were doing. I was a psychology major for 3 years, so I knew exactly what was going on. So I'm not like a helpless victim here. I knew what I was getting myself into, but still, it didn't make it feel any better. So if you want to read the whole thread, it's the pinned it's the pinned tweet on my account, so feel free to go do that. So my point here is that Anders needs to be banned off of X, and I'm the last person who is going to go and try and cancel someone. I really don't believe in cancel culture at all, but in this case, enough is enough. This person is toxic, he's a bully, and he absolutely needs to go. So that's all I have for you today. I hope I don't have to make another video on this situation, but if more stuff does come out, I probably will make another video. I'm currently working on a big project talking about every country in Eurovision and what I think their long-term outlook at the contest is, so let me know if you're interested in seeing that. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Until next time, peace.